There seems to be so much talk about pros and cons. On one side, there's economic development, and on the other side, there's concern over environmental impact.
We have a pile of sand, or silica sand, that's 86 feet high and 300 feet long, and yes, they say the dust is not going to blow. Well, they can water it down, they can continuously water, but then what do we do with our water quality? What happens to all of the water that's pulled out of the city wells for that purpose? It's going to be a lot of water.
What we've done is we've put in a closed loop water system. So the majority of the water that gets used in this process gets recycled back into to continue to wash the sand. We don't have a discharge into a settling pond and that type of stuff. We're reusing the water.
Once people do start seeing the effects that are bound to happen, you really, when you look at the research, you're not going to be able to stop it easily.
And I have investigated with the DNR. 56 pounds of particulates will be emitted into the air per hour by this company, at least up to that.
Well, that's the estimate of the total from each piece of equipment on an hourly basis. So what's the worst hour emission from every piece of equipment? It's added up.
That's not sand, that's total emissions, right?
That's total emissions.
You have to trust in the Department of Wisconsin, the Department of Commerce and the Department of DNR, and they've already laid out the process of what you have to do to get that natural resource extracted. And the company said we're going to meet those requirements. So
we've got good water right now, and we don't want anything to happen to our water source. And we feel there are going to be dust issues as well.
And I talked to the people over Menominee, and I asked them some questions because they're in it already. They said dust is not an issue. They do extremely good job with keeping the dust down.
Wisconsin has had this industry for years and understands how to regulate it and has been on top of it and does a very good job of it. And that's one thing that I'm proud to be a Wisconsinite. We know how to regulate at the same time be pro-business.
When something comes to town and an article tells me that sand will be harvested from all around this area and will be shipped to Canada by rail, and when I learn that it will go to Saudi Arabia, perhaps, and then I begin to study and read and clip articles and so on, and not very many articles, I begin to realize the dangers of this sort of thing coming into town.
If I first look at it and say, well, all that sand's going to Canada, it doesn't benefit me. Well, thank God, send it to Canada, because those people in Canada are sending their money here. And what that does is it's that Canadian money that pays the salaries of the 55 employees. So you're actually, when you export products, okay, you're taking the money from, if it's China, look at W.S. Darley and all SGI and Cray, when they send these computers and these fire pumps out, that money's coming back in to Chippewa.
It behooves us, if we have any ethics at all, to continue to learn ourselves about it and to educate people so that they can determine for themselves whether we want this to be a clean air, clean water community, or we want a heavy industry like sand processing to take over our town, because that will happen. It will not only take over our town, it will take over our entire county and perhaps surrounding counties, and we need to be concerned about that.
All we're looking at is a duplication of, I guess, the Fairmont plant in Dunn County. So the simple question is anybody want to see it? We want to duplicate that and put it here. And everybody knows that it's in Dunn County, and it's operational and it's running, and it's been an economic boom for Menominee.
The only positive effects that I see basically are, as far as the mining site out here, obviously the farmers that sell the sand, definitely will profit.
There's money in it, of course. Why would I do it otherwise? I'm a nice guy, but honest, yeah, I'm going to make money, and I'm going to continue farming. In fact, our plan is to put another barn up.
I don't see anyone else in the township how that would help them unless they happen to get one of the jobs that's involved with the sand plant in Chippewa, where, you know, you're trucking sand or something like that, or with the processing plant.
Without the jobs, you don't create the tax base. Without the creating the tax base, guess what happens? Our taxes keep going up. And we can do two things. We can continue to have taxes go up where we can't afford to live here, or we can bring in more taxpayers and more economic base.
It's very difficult for me to see anything positive. I know that there will be some jobs, but at what expense? Just what kind of expense? How many other jobs will be kept from this community or won't come into this community? Or how many people will leave it? Or how will our home values depreciate?
Anytime we have an opportunity to get 55 jobs, 55 jobs in 6 months are going to be very important. And you know, feeding your family and everything, and it's going to be tough. So we need to work together to see how we can satisfy each concerns and put them on the table that way. I'd much rather do it that way than the media blitz.